there. I'm in the whip, but I'm not driving right now. And I think I'm just going to do this live stream actually chilling, you know? I'm not going to actually be multitasking and driving. So I'm just going to be parlaying, you know? So when it comes to attention, begetting attention, the numbers don't lie. Could it be a bunch of different reasons? Well, you know, there are people that come on to these live streams and a few have already asked me the same question, like, how do you get your numbers up, you know? And I didn't really have an answer for that. Because I just recently I've been in YouTube for several years, but I didn't really focus on YouTube as far as, okay, let me build the channel, you know, because I've had a gym for a long time, and social media wise, I was using various platforms and social media outlets to be able to promote that business. And what I learned was I couldn't really figure out social media, whether it was TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, Meta, which is the same thing, WhatsApp, YouTube, Instagram, etc., etc., etc. And when I say I couldn't figure it out, it was like, I don't know how good I was. You know, I didn't know if I was really all that good. So recently I said, all right, let me put a little bit more emphasis on YouTube, you know, because I kind of like stopped spending time everywhere else. And I use YouTube as a place. Hi, people. Mason, Cool Kitty, Cool Kidday, Bulldozer, Sibi. Cool names. And that's why it was like, when you ask the question, like, how do you get your numbers up? I don't know. But I do know that I said I was going to spend more time here because I'm here anyways. I'm researching here. I use YouTube as a place where I can kind of learn, you know? It's like my digital research center. So I said, okay, if I'm here anyways and I'm always researching here, might as well see if I could come back here and build a channel. And that's what I did. And I found a little niche that worked, and I was doing it anyways. So I said, okay, let me mess with it. Because I've been in social media long enough. Like I said, I didn't really think I was all that. I appreciate that. You know, I appreciate not just anyone who subscribes, but any person that checks in, you know, any person who wants to come in and comment and open dialogue. I appreciate all of that, you know. So what you'll see is a bunch of just genuine dialogue and just realness, you know, and positivity, consistency, determination, drive. Callie, what's up? We got some gamers here. And I think that's the answer. I think the answer is like, much like how life is, you can't really cheat it so much. Yeah, you could cheat it in certain way. Everyone can cheat life in certain aspects, corners of doing things or whatever. But when it comes to actually getting to high places, you can't really cheat it, you know? Oh wow, look at like shout out to Cali Gaming. Top 10 on Fortnite. That sounds serious, you know? That sounds like, because I know a lot of people that play Fortnite. So I don't know how the ranking goes, but that sounds serious. But you know, yeah, I was just thinking about someone who created a game on Roblox, you know, and it did relatively well. So that's cool. But as I was saying, like you got to put that work in. You got to put that time in, and you got to stay driven. You got to be determined, and you got to be yourself. You know, I think that's the answer. You know, and the name of the game is, damn, what's the name? Chip Chip Chipeo? It's like some sort of game where they, hey, what's up, Kinley? It's like one of those games where it's almost like it reminds me of GTA, right? Where you like you drive around and then like you hook up the vehicles and you make like you basically drive around, you hook up vehicles, you add things to the vehicles and like you like you can play music and it's like Chipeo Dreams or something like that. It's not coming to my mind, you know. Um, but it's something like that. Chipeo Purplet, what's up? Chipeo Dreams, something like that. It's not coming to my head. Yeah, but um, I think attention begets attention because when a lot of people like you can look at any live streamer, any YouTuber, any content creator, in the beginning, they all they all start kind of lonely. You know, it's like no one's there, right? But then after time, people start coming in and then they routinely come in and then obviously the algorithm of whatever, you know, social media platform you're on works in your favor and then over time it's like okay, more and more people come in, right? And that like it's almost like then the question is, okay, is it the algorithm? Is it because people feel more comfortable because there are other people and it's not you just by yourself? I guess I do, right? The abuela brain. Yeah, it's crazy, right? I always said, like, in time, bulldozer, what's going on? I said, you know, I would want to have like the gray beard, you know, but the young face. And I think that's kind of like what happened. I have these little lines right here. I can't get rid of them, but other than that, pretty youthful face with the gray beard. But I think my dark hairs are starting to come back. So I don't know if I'm reversing it or not, but even if it was completely gray, I wouldn't mind, you know. But so is it the algorithm? Is it that there are more people and then more people then have more people feel comfortable? Or is it like, you know, is it potentially because if you see a lot of people in a place, right? Then it's like, oh, you're checking in from Ukraine. If you're checking in from Ukraine, that's cool, you know. Shout out to Ukraine, Ukrainian people. And, you know, I think when there are a lot of people together, it's like you get to meet new people. I think you would feel comfortable because more people are attracted to more people. Like if and and this is one of those things like social media where like it doesn't ever really feel, I mean, it can feel crowded, but at the same time it's like it's not the same as if like you're physically going into a building, and I don't know what that means. Tessa, what's up? I don't know what, if I'm purple, I'm not sure what that means. But if you go into like a crowded space, whether it's outside or inside, you might you might feel claustrophobic in a sense. Right? But you're not going to feel that way inside a live stream. Oh, okay. So I like tanzanite. I think that's like a purplish shade. So I like tanzanite. That's like a purple kind of color. So I like that color. And I also like sapphire, which is like a bluish kind of color. You know, I like those colors, but I like a lot of different colors. I don't really have a favorite color, but yeah, I like tanzanite. So that's one of those kind of purple, off purple type of colors. And I think like if there were a crazy ton of people in this live stream, we wouldn't feel claustrophobic. Even if like the comments were going like this, let's just say like 2-3 years from now, right? And like, the comments go crazy, right? Let's just say there's success here and we build a community together and it goes crazy. We still wouldn't feel claustrophobic. Like as opposed to if we were outside or if we were inside like a building, like a store or something, and we're all inside like a place and it's like, I don't know, like Black Friday and like, people are going crazy. You'd probably feel uncomfortable. Like, you just want to like um, not be in there anymore, right? And that's the certain thing about social media where you can kind of like be in a crowded space and feel comfortable. In fact, I think, okay, good night, bulldozer. I think you can actually be in a crowded environment and actually feel like you would actually want to be there. So that's something different about social media where I think it pays to have more people come in, because when there are more people, and that's what this whole live stream is about today. It's like attention begets attention. So if more people come in, then more people are either curious or they're just feeling more comfortable because they don't feel like they're there by themselves or they're here by themselves, And I think that's the answer to the question on what people ask me sometimes, like, how do you get your numbers up? Besides everything I already broke down, right? Because again, I always say this in every live stream. Every live stream usually takes me about 10-15 minutes so I get to the point, which I already got to the point. And I already broke down how there are certain things you can't cheat, which is like work ethic, drive, not getting frustrated, and, just staying consistent, And all of those things work to possibly then have the system actually work in your favor. In this case, we're talking about YouTube, and YouTube, whether it's its algorithm or however that works, I think over time, the same way you study it, it learns you. And then there's this kind of like, it must be nice, Purplet. It must be nice. Because I don't know where you're located, but it's cold out here. So if you're going to a beach, that sounds like, shoot, I need to be wherever you're at. And I got abs right now too, so I wouldn't mind going to a beach. I'd take my shirt off and everything, you know? But that sounds, yeah, bulldozer, get some sleep. If you're tired, Get some sleep. Thank you for checking in. I appreciate that. You know, come by anytime you want. And yeah, that beach sounds amazing right about now, you know? That's why, like, when it's summertime, anyone from, because I'm in New York, right? Anytime it's the summertime, we have to, like, really appreciate it because this is not tropical out here. So, you know, 80 degrees. Where are you right now that it's 80 degrees? It's 40 something right here, Fahrenheit. 80 degrees. You must be in, like, I don't know if you're in the US, but if you're in the US, of course that's where you're at, right? Where in Florida? Are you in Southern Florida? Watch you say something like, I don't know, Tallahassee or like Pensacola, and like it's 80 degrees. But I would assume, like, you know, Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, or like Florida City or Everglades or Miami, or, you know, one of those places, right? Real south. Naples, you know, one of those areas. Cuz I don't know if it's 40, let's say it's 40, 50 degrees right now over here in New York. I don't know if the northern part of Florida is actually gonna be 80 degrees. Maybe it is. I don't know. But I would assume like Miami, Fort Lauderdale would be 80, you know, or like the Keys. But the Panhandle, I don't know, you know. I'm not a Floridian, so I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, that's kind of like what this live stream was delving into, you know. Attention begets attention. And then when people come in and, like, you know, it could be just anything. If you're talking about like, do you like purple? Do you like, you know, I'm going to the beach? It could be just cool things that come up randomly, you know? And then obviously it's up to, you know, the person who's doing the stream to engage the audience at the same time. But if we have a whole bunch of people, think about how cool that is, how interesting that is, you know? Because we could just talk about anything. And that's why I think as it continues to build, it just gets better and better, you know? Yeah, average day in Florida. You know what? I think I have to go, like, as soon as it's like mid-November to like all the way up to like maybe mid-March, I need to go somewhere south, tropical, you know, because I'm not really a fan of this. Because a month from now, 2 months from now, we're talking about 20 degrees, 25 degrees. That's an average day out here. Definitely not a fan. So Florida sounds pretty good right about now. You know, I'll take the mosquitoes, I'll take the gators, I'll take the, you know, whatever's out there. You know, interesting folks, you know, whatever it is that people complain about in Florida, I'll take it. Because that weather ain't going anywhere. That weather's staying there. So I'll take the, you know, no way, no way what? No way what? I I'm not a fan of the cold, you know. And I'm one of those New Yorkers where I'm not gonna have a Floridian complain that another one of those New Yorkers came down here. No, you're not gonna complain about me. You're not gonna have any issues about this New Yorker in Florida. I'm gonna be in Florida, and I'm gonna have a whole bunch of Floridians say, "Now that's a New Yorker I can uh, I can welcome." Yeah, it's not with it. You know, this cold is not it. you know. But yeah, whether it's Florida or I don't know, South, South, Southern Cali, maybe Southern Texas, Hawaii, right? These are the only places, US wise, unless we're talking about Bahamas or elsewhere. Those are the only places where we can then say, you know, unless it's like Puerto Rico or it's got to be. Otherwise, it's going to be far, right? Costa Rica, we're going to be going far, you know. So I I I would settle for Florida. That's probably like the closest southern tropical nice 70 something degree place that I can imagine right about now, you know, in the US, in the continental states. But yeah, I hope you have a good one at the beach. Hope you have enjoy your 80-degree day, because that's pretty amazing, you know. You literally have a day that's like 30 degrees warmer than what it is right here, you know? And you have like more sun, you have a little bit more daylight, you know? Cuz out here in the next hour and a half, it's going to start getting you're welcome, dark. Literally in an hour and a half, it's going to start getting dark here. You know, and it's only 3 o'clock, which is nuts. I think in Florida, even though it's also Eastern, it actually like gets darker later. Like the sun sets later. I don't know how that works, but it does. I've noticed it. Not that I live out there, but it's true. You know, and I have family and I have friends that live in Florida, and I've seen it. Like when there's a video chat going on, it's like, how is it dark here and it's still light there? And we're both on the East Coast, Eastern Standard Time. You know, it is what it is. One of those things. But, you know, Florida has a lot of interesting things. Oh man, if I was in Florida, what? You would see me like a kid talking about everything. I'd come here in these live streams and I'd be talking about like every little thing I see in Florida, you know? I'd be like, look at this lizard, look at this bird, look at this iguana, you know? I'd be talking about everything. But, you know, I do my best to talk about everything out here in New York too. You know, we have some interesting things out here in New York as well. You know, we have our own culture, you know, but hey, we definitely don't have warm temperatures in the wintertime, unfortunately. I swear to you, if New York had warm temperatures in the wintertime, I'd be like, New York is like, who's messing with New York? You know? But it's just the winter, you know? It's just the weather. That's the only thing about it. That's like, and people who are not like cold lovers, they know that. They know that about New York. You know, if you're from New York and you don't like the cold, you know that's true. You know, in the middle of January, when it's brick outside at like 9, 10, 11 p.m., if you are outside, if you go outside and it's 11:30 p.m. at night, January 27th, 2026, you know you're shivering. You know you're not enjoying that. It's one of those things. But yeah, so now I'm going to start driving. I was actually chilling all that time for like 25 minutes straight. So that was cool. I enjoy every person that comes through, checks in, says hi, and we start interesting conversations about any and everything. So it's a beautiful thing. It always is. But yeah, I think I made my point, even though I was talking about like, other random things. That's basically the gist of the live stream today. Attention begets attention. That's just what it comes down to. More eyes attract more eyes. More people bring more people. It's really that simple. And the only way you're going to do that is everything I broke down in this live stream. You have to be yourself. You have to be driven. You can't get too frustrated. You can't take things too seriously. You have to, shrug things off, be lighthearted, have a good sense of humor, have a decent personality, stay driven, remain determined. So any person that asks me that same question about how do I get my numbers up? Oh, that's it. Stay consistent. And then when the numbers go up, you'll see. And YouTube is actually pretty good when it comes to like, who knows, right? They keep it. It's almost like everything is under wraps, right? So it's like a mystery. It's like the algorithm. So it's like, okay. And then out of nowhere, like everyone tries to figure out the algorithm, right? But no one really knows. It's kind of like the markets. It's like, what's going on with the markets? Like you could do like technical analysis trying to figure out like if it's going to go up or down, up. Who knows? No one knows, right? You don't have a crystal ball to figure it out. It's the same thing. It's like eventually YouTube works in your favor and then your numbers start going up, and like it kind of rewards the people that like are consistent. Of course, that's not going, whatever that is. So it's like you have to go through like whatever it is you have to go through before you start getting rewarded. Such is life. But that's what a lot of people tend to say. They all tend to say the same thing. It's like after a certain amount of time, then it started taking off, And that's the same thing with almost everything in life. It's almost like it's like a rite of passage where it's like you had to go through the fire, like some sort of struggle before you're able to actually reap benefits that make you happy. And then you look back and it's like, if you knew what I went through, like I was in the trenches for a long time, So it's like, I don't wish anyone to go through that or like that on anyone, But if you're willing to go through the trenches as well and you're willing to go through all of that, then you probably deserve it. Like whatever it is you're trying to get. And I think that's just what it comes down to. With really anything. Like, Coco, what's up? Are you another person from Florida? Because I see you got not just a unicorn, but a dolphin. We don't have any dolphins out here in New York. So, or maybe you just like dolphins. You're a mariner. You're one of those. I'm like trying not to like run over turkeys. Like they're wild turkeys out here. Just roaming, big bird. Poland. Oh, we just had someone here from Ukraine. I think they said they were tired, so they said they were going to go. So, Poland, Ukraine, Wisconsin, Florida, Purple, look, I'm gonna go back. Didn't you say Florida? Yeah, you said Florida. How are you from? Oh, I remember now. I remember you. We spoke last time where you basically said you're doing the school thing. You see? It's coming back to me. You're doing the school thing and then you go back home. Right? Am I right or am I right? Yep. See? This is what I'm talking about. And that's another thing about, like, if you're going to do this like live thing and you're going to do like YouTube or whatever it is, you got to be able to connect with people. You know, and that's another thing. You can't just be talking and talking and talking and talking and like actually not develop some sort of connection with folks. So that's another thing too. And I remember the last time you, Miss Lady, were on like at a crazy late hour. It was like, I don't know, it was probably like, it was late. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. You know, it was a crazy time. I don't know, it was 11 or 1 or something like that. What a difference. 3 p.m. right now, and that time it was like 1 in the morning, you know? But I appreciate you checking in, young lady. You know. I checked your channel out too. You know, you should keep doing your thing as well. You know, you're young. You could probably just like be yourself and have a lot of people appreciate your personality as well, you know? And that's important. It's important to be yourself and it's important to build connections with people, you know? And it's crazy, like Poland, Ukraine, Italy, like people are checking in from all over the world. It's amazing, you know? And we can just be from New York and Wisconsin and Florida and California, and we're just able to, just like that, be able to connect with people from all over the world, you know? Someone might be from anywhere, right? It's awesome. It's amazing. I had to pull over because I'm not trying to run over like Turkey. Like, because I'm like over here, you know, remembering Purpleette from originally from Wisconsin, but now in Florida, bragging about it being 80 degrees out there. And I'm like, I'm seeing turkey and deer. So just trying. But you know, in Florida, you're probably seeing, even now in November, you're probably seeing some things. You know, you're probably seeing some, I don't know, some cougars and wild parrots. Who knows what's in Florida? You know, because I remember reading about, like, I don't know what storm it was. I think it was in the 90s. It was a storm that came through Florida. It was one of those really bad storms where the hurricanes came and like totally ravished a zoo. And then all the animals from the zoo escaped. And like they basically like went everywhere. And then all those animals that escaped, they basically like had babies and then they just like squatted all over Florida, like around the area. So now like all those animals from the zoo were like just loose and basically like starting families. It was crazy, like, because that can't happen in New York because they're gonna die. You know, that's how the winter is out here. It's harsh. That's why I never understood unfortunately, the homeless folks out here, it's so rough. Like, we're talking about the most extreme days, it's legit. It'll get to like 4 degrees, and you're literally out here in the streets, lying down on the floor, trying to bundle up with like as many layers as you can, and that's nuts. And the wind is blowing, and it might be like 4 degrees outside, but the wind is blowing, so now it's like -8. And we don't know if it's, snowing or not. That's crazy. That's a whole nother topic, and I bring it up from time to time because I actually record folks that, you know, that's what's unfortunately happening. And yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, shoot, if we don't know the reason, and I don't want to be like, obviously I'm veering off a little, and I don't want to be negative, but I don't want to say or like judge or assume anything. You know, it's like all I know is, yeah, maybe I might have a different mindset, but I would do anything in my power to get inside a shelter. If I was in that situation, I'm doing anything to get inside. I am not sleeping out. Look, let me show you. It's a good time to change topics anyways. They're running. They were just jogging. See, I wasn't lying. They were literally running. I didn't actually get to catch them while they were like jogging. It was funny looking because they're these giant birds and they were just jogging, like trotting. They're the size of like bulky, short flamingos, like jogging across the street. But yeah, so anyways, we let that one go, we let that topic go because that's a sad topic. There's no need to dwell on that. But I'm telling you, later on, like 2 months from now, I'll probably catch some of these folks and I'll bring it up again. The same way I just caught those turkeys. You're gonna see it'll be like 2 degrees outside, and I'm gonna catch these folks literally sleeping on the floor, and it feels like it's -16 degrees because of the wind and the icy conditions, or some sort of nor'easter that's going on. And I'm just gonna be like, yo, that's crazy. That's nuts that they're doing that. Hey, it is what it is. The leaves are turning colors out here, and autumn is here. Of course, these poison ivy plants are like the strongest ones. They don't turn colors. Poison ivy is actually not like an evergreen, but they're strong. Like they don't die. They're like next level, for regular plants that are not like evergreen plants like pines. They stick around for a long time. In Florida, that's something I would probably pay attention to too. Like you all in Florida must not really have like autumn, like that. Or it must be really short. It's probably like 10 days, your fall is like less than 2 weeks. And then it's like, oh, right back to, they're growing again. The buds are starting to grow on the trees again. It's been the 11th day. It's the 12th day, so we're growing back already. Meanwhile, over here, it's like 4.5 months. And if you go to like the northern areas of New York, bordering Canada, and that's another thing. How do these people in Canada, like I'm not talking about bordering the US. I'm talking about up in Canada. How do they do it? You know? In the wintertime, how do they do it? That's like you might as well be in Siberia. You know, you might as well be in an igloo. And like looking at northern lights and having, you know, basically like all darkness for like 7 months straight. You know, it's like I can't even fathom how these folks do that over there. Listen, not me. I'd rather be in Florida or somewhere warm because it's crazy out there. But yeah, that's really it. Listen, I've been yapping and yapping and yapping for a while. I'm going to leave it there. I appreciate everyone that checked in. Purpleette, you already know. Thank you for, you know, engaging as usual. And yeah, I made my point. Attention begets attention. And that's what the live stream is about today. We're just having fun, having conversations about just any and everything. And that's what this is all about. You know, I'll be back later on. I don't know if I'm going to do a live stream, but, you know, I'm going to stay consistent as always, as usual. And until next time, thank you for checking in as always.